your friends and family who are watching at home that it is now live. Okay, so like I said before, use this QR code, please, to submit any topics for next year, and we will have this up again later on. All right, so oops, I got to get my PowerPoint working. All right, so a couple things we'll end up doing here now is we're going to do a roll call of attendees. We're going to review each resolution. This is the one where I cannot skip out. I have to read them all. So I apologize if you have to hear me speak for a while. The wording committee will do their final act of duty, which will be opening up for any amendments that have occurred last minute. The topic resolution is open for amendments. A 10-minute timer will be set, and only voting delegates may offer amendments today. So before we get started, let's go ahead and do a roll call of delegates. And I'm going to go down the list, and when you hear your states being named, I need you to be enthusiastically here, yes, present, however, but I do need to be able to hear it, and so please be enthusiastic with your acknowledgement. So, Arkansas.
Here, yes, President, whatever.
You are awesome, setting the tone early, Colton. All right, California.
Here.
Colorado.
Here.
Connecticut.
Here.
District of Columbia.
No.
All right, Georgia.
Present.
Thank you. Illinois.
Here.
Iowa.
Here.
Kansas.
Yes.
Louisiana.
Hey, all.
Maryland.
Here.
Michigan.
Yep.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Mississippi.
Sir, yes, sir.
All right, Missouri.
Here.
New Jersey.
Here.
New York.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Oregon.
Here.
Pennsylvania.
Here.
South Dakota.
Here.
Texas.
Here.
Wow, there we go. Baylor proud over there. That was Texas. All right, Virginia. Washington.
Here.
Wisconsin.
Here.
NAUDL.
Here.
NCFL.
Here.
NDCA.
Here.
NSDA.
Here.
All right. Those are all of our delegates. Was there a state that was not, that is present, that was not called? Okay. So far, batting 1,000. Okay. So next what we'll be doing is we're going through each of the resolutions as a final time. Just as a reminder here, I will read each one of them, and then I'll ask Dr. Edwards to come up and ask for any amendments, if there are any. So as I read them, Dr. Edwards will acknowledge for amendments. Seeing no amendments, move on to the next topic. Everybody good with that? Okay. So amendment review, here we go. Affordable housing. Resolved, the United States federal government should enact substantial affordable housing reform in the United States.
Do we have any suggestions for change? I see none.
Agricultural subsidies. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially decrease its agricultural subsidies for domestic agriculture.
Any suggestions, alterations? We have none.
American Arctic policy. Resolved, the United States should substantially increase its military presence and/or economic development in the Arctic region.
Suggestions for change? We're good.
Biomedical ethics. Resolved, the United States should substantially increase its restrictions on regenerative medicine and/or genetically modified organisms in the United States.
Amendments? We're good.
Copyright. Resolved, the United States federal government should significantly reduce copyright protections in the United States.
Any suggestions for amendment? I see none.
Critical infrastructure. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its critical infrastructure protection of the chemical and/or nuclear sectors in the United States.
Any changes? No changes.
Disaster preparedness. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its domestic preparedness for climate-related disasters, pandemics, and/or terrorism.
Changes? See none.
Education reform. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its funding and/or regulation of early childhood, elementary, and/or secondary education in the United States.
Suggestions? We're good.
Election and democracy reform. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially reform federal and or state elections in the United States.
Amendments? No changes.
Financial regulation. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its regulation of financial institutions in the United States and anti-fraud, corporate accountability, and or disclosures.
Any amendments? No changes.
Future of U.S. healthcare. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially expand healthcare coverage in the United States.
Suggestions, amendments? No changes.
Intellectual property rights. Resolved, the United States federal government should significantly strengthen its protection of domestic intellectual property rights and copyrights, patents, and or trademarks.
Amendments? No changes.
Nuclear weapons reduction. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially reduce the size and or restrict the roles of its nuclear weapons arsenal.
Any amendments? No changes.
Social media. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its regulation of social media content.
Any amendments? No changes. Oh,
I apologize, that's something really out of order. I would move to amend the agriculture bill to, instead of saying domestic agriculture, to say agriculture in the United States.
are you talking about the heading of the,
The ending of the resolution, it says domestic agriculture, strike domestic, and add in the United States after agriculture.
Originally a comment. That wording was vetted by about 10 to 15 experts and a couple debate people who went into agriculture. It was overwhelmingly preferred the way that it is instead of the wording that is being suggested. I don't think it's necessary to make that change.
okay, that's one of the ones we've already talked about. Okay, yeah, we've already put that to bed. Sorry, Cole.
Unfortunately, so just a reminder, when we ask for the amendments, it has to happen at that time. And then this is the final wording. Okay, so I think we need to double check.
Okay, any amendments, social media? No changes.
Waste management. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially decrease domestic waste by regulating municipal solid waste.
Amendments? We're good.
Okay, so these topics are now the topics we'll be voting on with the resolutions as stated for the wording. All right, the next thing we're going to do is topic advocacy. So a couple things here. Each topic selection author is given 90 seconds to advocate for the topic area that they submitted. Kevin, can you be our official timer?
How much time again?
90 seconds.
90 seconds.
So it's a whirlwind. Hey, vote for me. All right, not me, the topic. So if I can have the topic authors stand up here so we can kind of rapid fire this. So if you're a topic author, please come up to the front. There will be a caucus period allowed for all attendees and voting delegates to discuss the topics between each round of voting. Following a 10-minute caucus period, voting by the delegates will commence. So here's what will happen. There will be a 10-minute timer on the screen before we vote. Once that 10 minutes is done, a QR code will pop up on the screen and you may go ahead and fill out your ballot. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll go through, here's the microphone. So you know your orders, so come up here closely and here we go. Who's going first?
Someone who's not here.
Great, who's speaking on behalf of affordable housing? Okay, so Justin's not here. Justin would tell you, vote for affordable housing. All right.
I'm gonna say, I love the Oxford comma.
Yes,
And the rent is too damn high.
rent's too damn high. He likes to have the comma, not as much as the walk-in comma or the Shatner comma. But all right. So Dustin, affordable housing. Okay. Agricultural subsidies.
The topic is timely, it is a good topic with a good division of act and net ground. It is insulated from the state's counter plan, which I think is essential for all domestic topics. I think it is accessible to novices. It is deep enough for varsity people to have a large interest in it as well. There is a diverse literature base. I think this topic is good all around. It's important for every student in the country to know about it. from a perspective of the fact that it affects every single one of their lives, whether they are rural or urban or suburban or private school or public school. Agriculture subsidies is a fundamentally important topic, and it's one that kids from all across the country frequently overlook. I think it would be a great topic for debate. I think everyone thought so last year. It's why it made the final five. Hopefully it does again this year.
American Arctic policy.
Okay, I'm just gonna ditto what Preston said, just copy it over, flow that over to my side. Arctic policy is baked into a lot of topics, and it's a part of debate, but we've never directly debated Arctic policy. There's lots of good ground on both affirmative and negative side, environment, military, economy, things like that. Is some really good things. I feel like it's a really good way to get things in the door. I know there's some concern about it being the PF topic, potential PF topic in the fall, but that PF topic can serve as a gateway to, if this was chosen as the CX topic, because you can tell your PFers, hey, you like that PF topic? We got the CX topic coming up, and so you can be a good way to get kids in the door. So I think it's a really good topic. And I hope you vote for it.
Biomedical ethics.
Thank you. So with COVID just around the corner and students interested in exposure to health information being at an all-time high, biomedical ethics is a super awesome way for a balanced topic to be exposed to a broad base of students and allow for them to expand their interests. The topic is balanced, producing a year of debate that sustains itself at all levels while still having accessible information for multiple levels of debate. While being interesting, students can engage in multiple different controversies. The permissive terms of art combined with universal neck generics means that debates will always have literature around them, clashing arguments, and incredibly interesting debates that debaters will love for the course of the year. So I strongly urge you to vote for this.
Okay, 1787 to 2023 has been impacting our lives the entire time. If you want your students to be able to discuss the differences with Taylor Swift to Monsanto seed propagation, copyright's your place. It should be a lot of fun. But in all seriousness, copyright does impact every part of our lives, and it has a deep area where people don't understand all the impact that it has. So I'm going to keep this very short and just urge a vote for copyright. Thank you. Pretty much for sure.
All right, I'm very happy with where this topic landed. We have great opportunities to talk about something that's largely ignored in the debate space right now. We're talking about chemical security and then the nuclear sector. I know we had a lot of debate about the wording of this, but whenever we look at the educational space of what we should be talking about, these impact our everyday lives. Critical infrastructure is something that mattered as much as it did during the Industrial Revolution as it does today. So you're able to have a variety of different arguments, whether that's going to be counterplans, case-specific disads, or just on-case arguments. It allows for us to go deeper into certain topics. We had concerns about whether or not this is too broad, but I think we narrowed it down in almost a perfect way to have perfectly balanced debate. So, and as someone who just finished up debating in high school, I think this would be a topic that many different states, many different competitors would be really excited to talk about, because they can go to many different areas. They can talk about the economic aspects of it. They can talk about the human rights aspects of it. They can talk about how it's going to impact different minority communities, how it impacts the communities that we live in. So they can go multiple different directions of it. And I think we find something for everybody in it. And that's why you should vote for our topic.
Disaster preparedness.
Okay, I know one of the concerns was that this topic seemed to be bigger than people thought it was, until you look at pandemics and you realize that there haven't been that many. The other thing about this topic is that with COVID, this is something that is within the lived experience of these students. Every one of them who is going to be debating in high school went through COVID as a middle schooler. They understand the elements of terrorism that even though they didn't live through 9/11, they understand how that impacts our lives to this day. And a lot of them have at least been exposed to climate-related disasters. On the negative, you've got all sorts of trade-offs to that. So even if you believe that that topic is huge, the negative's got a huge range of potential trade-off scenarios that they could go for. So this is a topic that I think kids will have an easier time, particularly novices, engaging. And so that's why I hope you give it every consideration. Thank you.
Education reform. Okay, again, if they were in the room, vote for education. Election and democracy.
For every student that you've heard complain about politics or argue with each other about politics, and as people who are involved in the debate space, I'm sure that every one of us has had that. This is an opportunity for them to take this to a higher level. I have to admit that once the list went away, I was at first a little bit concerned about this, but in terms of thinking about what might happen in about 16 months' time, and the fact that the previous guy may become the future guy, this resolution probably addresses or gives affirmatives the opportunity to have cases and plans that perhaps the list might not. Again, the 24-25 year would be the optimal time to do this because there'll be so much evidence coming out between November 24 and NSBA that is going to force kids to continue to update our files. And that's something that we ought to be stressing. So please give that your consideration as well.
Financial regulation.
So a lot of us have traditionally agreed that topics that deal with regulations are both novel and accessible for novices. We've had many topics that agree with the idea of regulation and using things like the basic econ disadvantage. This topic capitalizes on that ample literature base, using a well-known, well-established literature base that most often is writing about monetary policy, and says, hey, that would be an excellent year of debate. It's accessible at novice levels as business journalism and news sources are covering it and producing evidence on it constantly. So there's tons of literature available and narrative-based evidence. There's also varsity level regression analyses and law journals that are getting into the nitty-gritty of it. That meaning that the topic has something to offer for everyone and remains balanced at all levels, making it an excellent topic for a year of debate. Thank you.
Future of U.S. healthcare.
So just as a reminder that healthcare is something that is a bipartisan issue. It affects every single person in this room. It also affects our students and our community and our judges. So if this is the topic that you choose to go forward, it's going to touch everyone's lives. Obviously, COVID-19 has been mentioned, and it has brought healthcare to the forefront of the lack of access to healthcare and the providers providing of healthcare. It also has shown us where we are strong and where we need to work on different areas. The other thing I want to remind you is this topic was chosen by students, and students are who we are trying to serve in picking topics. So if they felt like to spend 30 to 50 hours writing a 30-some page paper and forcing me to come here and present it for them, that this is something that students will actually enjoy debating. Thank you.
Intellectual property rights.
Legal topics are good for debate. They're novel. We don't have them very often. IP specifically has not been debated at the high school level. I think this topic, first and foremost, speaks to one of the main reasons that many students join speech debate is at least a passing interest or thought that they might one day want to become a lawyer. I think it's something they would be vastly interested in. And it accesses a literature base that students don't normally engage with, which means it'll give all students, novice to seniors, new education and new topic areas. I also think that this can be cross-applied to several other resolutions, but topics where the affirmative must make a controversial change to the status quo are good because it generates negative arguments against the affirmative. It is very difficult to debate topics that are truisms. This one is certainly not necessarily one. It means that this topic comes with solid built-in topic disadvantages, deep case debates, which means that no matter what style of debate you do, novice to varsity, you will have deep substantive debates that everyone can engage in. It also has a very deep vertical literature base, which means the students can learn as the year goes on. Students will be benefited from cutting cards as the year goes on. There's not a point where this topic will stagnate. Yeah, I think that's about it. Vote for IP.
We all know that nuclear weapons policy comes up on every debate topic, regardless of what we debate, but it's been over 20 years since the high school community has decided that we should focus an entire topic on nuclear weapons. And now is a great time for us to do that again, whether it's the threat of Russia using nuclear weapons in Ukraine, or just the pop culture moment that nuclear weapons is having with discussions about the development of those. It's something that is being talked about across the country right now, and it would be a great opportunity for us to discuss in the debate community for high school students. I think that this topic offers both affirmative and negative ground that is very evenly divided, like other speakers have talked about on a domestic topic. Being able to focus the debate on the action of the resolution itself rather than the state versus federal distinction is extraordinarily important. And this topic offers us the ability to do that while also focusing on something that students clearly are driven to talk about during debate rounds based on years of evidence. So please support this topic throughout today. And thank you for being here this weekend. Social media.
I don't know about you, but if in your debate program, policy debate has gone down and the number of kids that are willing to do policy debate has gone down, social media is going to help you with recruitment, because every single student has some kind of social media account or is involved with social media. It affects every aspect of their life. And so I know that if we were doing social media, I could recruit a lot of kids to join and do policy debate. And I think that that would be true for everyone. There's enough on both sides, app and neg. It is not app heavy or neg heavy. And I think that it brings to the forefront something that is genuinely affecting everyone. It's also a topic that has not been done. And so instead of recycling maybe some topics over and over again, we need to offer kids something fresh and new that they can get excited about. So vote for social media.
Waste management.
We're all producing waste right now. Everyone, in unsustainable ways. We produce more food waste in the United States than any place else in the world. It's actually affecting climate change. Like, we know that what we are doing right now is unsustainable and we haven't talked about it. It's the most accessible topic to kids, but also they know the least about it. When they say recycle, they don't know that most of the stuff that they want to recycle can't be recycled. They don't know that literally businesses have made money off of this. They don't even know that some of the social media movements that they're involved in, that like, hey, we should recycle, are really pushed by plastic companies, right? So the evidence, what they're able to find is going to be, will be incredibly good. You'd even have really good understandings of what is zero waste, which everyone needs to know and talk about. It's the reason why the state's counterplan would be actually good debating, because if we are talking about zero waste, that is something only the federal government can do, right? If it's a small case, that's when you're going to have big, good debates on that. So it becomes a legitimate part of really debating the topic. The dissads are realistic because it's business costs, the reason why people aren't doing it. So they'll have realistic debates about actual policy dealing with the EPA, the Department of Energy. What are the limits of what we can do? I think this is an amazing topic, and it's an area that we have not gone in as a community.
We get one more round of applause for all the topic out there. Who would like to be a topic author? There's an opportunity for you. Don't forget about that before we end the meeting. All right, so we'll be voting here in a moment. So this is the rule out of the handbook for this meeting. So if 15 or more topic papers, we have 5 votes are going to occur. The first vote will reduce from 15 to 12. The second vote reduced from 12 to 10. The third will reduce down to 7. The fourth down to 6, and the fifth vote will give us our final 5. Does everybody understand how that works? Okay, remember, only voting delegates get to vote. However, everyone gets to caucus. So if you are not a voting delegate, you need to find your voting delegate of choice and have conversations with them. It should be someone from your state organization. Okay, so we'll have a 10-minute caucusing period now. At the end of the 10 minutes, the QR code to submit your vote will be there, and we'll be moving forward. So 10 minutes starts now. Enjoy your caucus time.
That's my voting thing is different from what's what you got published online. What's that? It's different than what you got published online. what is on the NFHS website, it has us going from 7 to 5. There's no 6. It doesn't, there's nothing for the refresh. It just changed.
So what we found out, I had on my. I have to go back. Yeah, so you're spending. Yes, I heard going through it.
Yeah, the voting, it would work, but there was just a jump. Jump from 7 to 5.
That's a problem. It's the only way.
Yeah, it goes from 5 to 7. Yeah, just get the right one up there.
Kyle should.
Yeah, oh, maybe it was in an email, but it's not. Just an FYI.
It should be. We're gonna.
This is different. This is different. Yeah, this is different.
So this is what.
Yeah, this is different than what's on the website. So just an FYI, so you
Appreciate it. Yeah, because I planned it last night. We've never had this paper.
Oh, no, we have.
So I was like, all right, I know we passed it in 2018. I gotta get the
Yeah.
sticker. And I go on there, it's not there at all.
Yeah, see, I didn't, that's what I was looking at.
So
I was looking at. Oh, and you got a tiebreaker.
Got it.
I remember one year.
So both those changes happened in 2018. And for some reason, they never got updated. Yeah.
I've never seen this.
How you doing? Good, thank you for the nice emails.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you for everything.
Were you getting the results or is Kyle getting?
Did
you see both Iowa and NSDA in there?
I'll see Iowa.
Your clock is going.
Oh, whoops, and see it.
Remember? I was like, which one did I do the first time?
Hey, Kevin and I are just checking, we're good on this, I can hold this and send it to Kevin, right? These are all the. Topic suggestions. Yep. Topic suggestions. We just want to double check. All right. Start there.
Okay.
It's a lot of good stuff on there. I mean. So people gave three things.
That's some reason, no, actually.
I think this process, I think this is. Money, everything like that, but.
It is. There's 1 minute remaining in your caucus period. If you'd like to start to scan your QR code and submit your votes, you may do so. I'm gonna take this and put it in.
Do they need to choose? How do you figure out what the?
No. See, not.
You're just gonna.
Actually, I pushed the button.
I can just click on it. I don't have to do this. Do I need to?
Well, this is the first, yeah, so I sent the email for the first vote.
Right. And I submitted.
Yeah, we'll probably have it up there and.
So you're just gonna email each vote.
So I can use the one, I didn't know if I needed to use this one or.
It'd be better if you just scan, honestly, guys, it's better if you just scan.
Okay.
This one, so this will be
This
the,
is first ballot,
It's the same one.
and then the second ballot has a different.
okay. So if I submitted, I have to wait for the next.
I don't want that. Yeah, so right now we're trying to cut out. Financial regulation. But I mean, if this were the vote, I mean, we cut with.
You want me to stay up here with you, I guess?
I can do it.
Oh, okay. We just need to make.
If you have not submitted your ballot, please submit your ballot now. Again, if you have not submitted your ballot, please submit your ballot now. We're waiting for 7 people to submit their ballots. That's right, Ken. Yep, that's fine.
Oh, nice.
I'd already voted, I've been down straight on the. I have.
Yeah, look.
You can turn it on the NDCA one. Sorry. Okay, I had it pulled up before and then I was like, just making sure I was voting right.
We still are missing 6 votes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Still missing 5 votes. 4 votes. Texas is in. I have Maryland, Donald. And Jason. Doing great. Still missing 3 votes. Not yet, still 3.
If I voted from the link in the email, is that different one?
No.
Nope.
No.
2 votes.
1 vote.
1 vote. Is it yours, John?
No, I got that.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
New Jersey. There we go. All right. Okay, so we have all votes in. And it looks like the ones, I'll pop it up on the screen. Before I do that, we'll be eliminating 3 papers. And as of right now, it looks like we'll be eliminating, we have a tie. Of course, we have a tie. Okay. Oh, good. We don't have a tie. Great. All right. So thank you, Kyle. And I'll make this bigger. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. All right. So the ones we'll be eliminating will be copyright, financial regulation, and biomedical ethics. Okay. So again, we'll be eliminating copyright, biomedical ethics, and financial regulations. So we're really updating the ballot here shortly. What the next step is, we'll have another 10-minute caucus period. At the end of the 10-minute caucus period, we'll have a QR code up here for the ballots, and you can go ahead and start submitting your votes from there. All right. Let's go back to. All right, your 10-minute time starts now.
So you don't want them to hit the link, right?
Is it possible to see the chart? Sorry. Like a little graphic.
I'm getting there. I gotta find out where I put it. So,
Thanks.
So we are not giving them the link. So can you make an announcement, like, do not fill out that link?
remember, this is a different ballot, so do not fill out the first ballot or the first QR code. Let me double check. Yeah, it'll be on the screen in just a moment.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. No, sure. They're on.
Yeah. They're the
It's like a part of it.
Are you gonna give us a cue?
I'm thinking about that.
I know that, I get nervous about this. I don't want to be.
So it'll happen at the 5 minute. It'll happen at the 5 minute mark.
Okay.
You wanna announce that?
No. It'll pop up there. We'll just leave this up there for now, so everyone. It's on- I think we're going. Preliminary.
I guess. I told. And then right when we push the QR code out, and then we'll scan it, make sure it's the right.
Yeah, the QR code's up there for number 2. Well, trust me, if it's not right, they'll tell us. What it is.
Oh, yeah. They will.
It's a lot easier when I did all this by myself. It's a lot of trying.
I know.
Thing to it, yeah. I was gonna try. That's. I thought at least make it. Second.
That's what I thought. So too.
Was it close? I didn't.
Okay.
Numbers.
I was-
Oh.
It's okay.
So this
I feel like there's a conspiracy against.
So it's, this is the third. Copy. All right, sweet.
And both of them. So it's less-
Oh, and would you put the fifth balance QR code?
It's 1 minute remaining in your caucus period.
Like, none of our crops, right?
There's a conspiracy. Ruth Levin conspiracy.
That we're gonna go.
Yep. And Ruth went to go find the rules. I thought we reposted them online. I thought we posted.
That's all I'm gonna do.
So where is that? Yeah, do this now. Please submit your votes if you have not submitted your votes already. Still waiting for 11.
Could be here, but maybe you can.
Where's that? So, Ruth K.
Do you want me to send it to you?
No, so, there, come on. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, now right.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure, because I was worried about that. Still waiting for 2 more votes, 2 more votes. You have yet to submit. We're still waiting for 2 more votes, please. We're waiting for 2 more votes, please. I wish I could double the time this week. So waiting for 1 more vote, please. If you have not voted, please vote. There we go. Got it. All right. Okay, well, here we go. Okay, so we do have a tie on the elimination for this one. So waste management will be eliminated, and then we have a tie between, oops, scroll some more. 2. Yeah.
So we eliminate 3 instead then?
All right, so we're eliminating waste management. We have a tie between future of US healthcare and education reform. So what we have to do on this is we're supposed to go with the number, the amount of first round number 1 ballots, which we don't count in the first round. We can't do that because those things happen later. And then we're supposed to do another count of the lowest preferred vote in the first round. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the first round and see which one of these had the lowest preferred vote. I'm doing all of this in real time and full transparency, so bear with me as I fuddle with the looking backwards and having my mouse over here. Oh, I got it. I can do this. Okay, so it's between education reform and the future of US healthcare, which they tied on that one. So now it goes to a vote of the wording committee. So wording committee members, I need the wording committee.
Are we voting like the one we want to stay or?
The one you want to stay. Yes.
That's between.
Education and healthcare.
Yeah. Yes.
They get a secret ballot? I don't know.
Yeah, let's do my written ballot wording committee. That's a good point. I need paper. Here we go.
There's a whole bunch of pads, paper.
Oh, I got Wi-Fi password.
Oh.
Wording committee, I need-
Yeah, you're right. I actually got more votes. Massive fraud.
Hey.
Ruth is literally just trying to cause chaos over here.
I always do.
He's just causing chaos.
I actually don't believe those hundreds lost. It was hundreds and thousands of votes more.
Ruth.
Actually, the votes are hidden in boxes in the bathroom, in the bottom, lower level of my estate.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, Kyle, you're backing me up on this. So on a tie-breaking vote of 6-1, the healthcare topic will move forward. So we'll be eliminating the waste management topic and we'll be eliminating the education reform. Yes, ma'am. So for the third round, do you have that updated? Okay. So the third round will be affordable housing, agricultural subsidies, American Arctic policy, critical infrastructure, disaster preparedness, election and democracy reform, future of US healthcare, intellectual property rights, nuclear weapons reduction, and social media. Okay, on this one here. I'll start the 10-minute timer in a moment. We'll be eliminating 3 of these. Remember, you're voting for 5 and we'll reduce the 3. 10-minute time starts now for caucusing.
You want
I'm the first one. Yeah, what do you think?
Yep, me too.
Yeah. You are allowed to talk during caucusing periods.
We're working on our smoke signals all night.
I'm not saying there's not a place for those, but
Throw all the topics into AI and said, which 5 do you think are best?
you know,
Well,
it'll do what? I'm going to. We have a but it was saved recorded. Saved recorded. There's a good listing of the topics. I think that's what it is. Yep. One.
I'm listening. Oh. Please. Yeah, please. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, please, that would be great. Limited comprehensive education. Yes. There goes that way. Yeah, here we go. One more. This is what it says on here. It's your 1 minute warning for completing your caucusing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, healthcare still in there, elections still in there. Education comes out, social media is still biomedical. Hey, Ruth. So I put in all 15 topics. Okay.
Oh, you did?
Selecting debate topics for national ballot. Oops, sorry, hold on. That's what I asked. Out of these 15 topics, which 5 topics we consider for negative ballot all debate topics? And it said healthcare, education, electrical, education, social, bio. 2 already out.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see.
Of course it would pick social media. So
Of course.
so we're going down to.
So we didn't look at 3.
Yeah. Okay. Please submit your ballot. We're still waiting for one more response to pick your 5 topics. Yep. So 9, 10, 11. Okay. Here we go. Okay, round 3 balloting. We'll be eliminating 3 topics today. And the ones that will be eliminated will be future of US healthcare, disaster preparedness, and affordable housing. Again, the ones we eliminated will be future of US healthcare, disaster preparedness, and affordable housing. Anyone would you like for that? So the ones remaining. Yeah. The remaining topics will be agricultural subsidies, American Arctic policy, critical infrastructure, election and democracy reform, intellectual property rights, nuclear weapons reduction, social media. Please feel free to caucus. I'll have the QR code up here in a moment and you may submit your ballot. Remember, you are voting for 5 topics and then we'll eliminate the ones with the least amount of votes.
6.
Articles in critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next one's election. Next one's election. Then nuclear war.
Okay. And now that's the 5th. So
Yeah.
4.
So we're gonna take one of those.
Yeah, 1 out here, right? And then 1 out.
This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was quick. I'm glad we had the tiebreaker. And I will say it's a lot easier to do now by myself. You know, the size of the meeting. You know, this meeting is only 30 people.
I mean, about 20, 30. 50.
Yeah, I think if we could get up to 100 people being here, that'd be amazing. Like imagine the process.
That's fine. You feel what?
That's good.
Is that your?
Yeah.
Is it? No,
Don't tell
him
me.
about. He is true.
Yeah. Yeah. This is nice.
Even if we can base it on Yeah, of you guys? You too? Yeah.
Well, no, of all of them.
Yeah. Oh, sure. And you can send it to Craig. Yeah, that might be.
Yes.
Yeah, get it. Okay.
He'll take it. All right. 1, 2, 3. Good, let me get. Perfect.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's James.
Oh.
He'll send it to you. Yours is right here, Craig.
Oh, you're gonna send it?
Yeah, he'll send it.
I also will pass. Thank you.
It was really good.
We're good. Thank you. I mean,
I mean, especially with the list having like electoral integrity. But it, yeah. Yeah. It's actually once before, it was like list made it look like eliminating down, but with the word state elections, we actually. But like one of the jokes I made when it was the list, did that differently with the list.
Okay, 1 minute to finalize caucusing, please. 1 minute to finalize caucusing.
You know, the green action that happens across state line or district line. Use of somebody.
Yeah.
Are we taking a break?
We'll take a break.
3 more responses.
Is that 1 minute for caucusing or?
Let's start caucus. I'll make it. We have time. Yeah, I'm gonna announce get the votes up. Caucusing time has expired. Please go ahead and submit your votes.
3 more.
So you know how the two. Yes, it's, at least what we used to do is we go in alphabetical order by state and you would read down the row, you vote for your things. And that's how it goes. So I try to get to this half. It looks like your topic was going to fail. You just. You know, I didn't like it all. I thought it went to kids.
Yeah. Well, if things hold, these might be. You never know, these where these 14 votes are going to go.
Yeah. We have one more vote remaining to be submitted. Connecticut? No, it's not. Okay. There's one more vote to submit. I'd love to tell you who it is, but it comes in submission order, so I can't easily go look. But if you don't think you've submitted, now would be a great time to double check that. There we go. Got it. All right. Yep, okay. All right, round 4 of the balloting removes one topic paper or one topic. And in this one, sorry, let me blow it up. Oh, man. Okay, so with 14 votes in this round, we're eliminating social media. Okay, so we have 6 topics remaining. Those 6 topics are agricultural subsidies, American Arctic policy, critical infrastructure, election and democracy reform, intellectual property rights, and nuclear weapon reductions. This will be our final ballot. So please caucus. You will choose your top 5 topics, and then we'll eliminate the final topic to have our top 5 ballot. Once that is announced, I need those authors to come up and see us and see Kevin and myself as soon as you can. Yeah. And look back here. Well, let's do this one. Oh, don't scan that one. Don't scan that one. That still says vote for. Don't get so excited here. Okay, I'll scan this one. Come on. Yep. Now you can scan this one. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is nice to be eliminated in the first round. So you're like, yeah, this is gonna be great. What happens, happens. Shit. Two tabs on. I know.
In the.
Right. Oh, looks like I'm starting to be right.
I don't think any, I don't think these are.
Yeah.
Kind of like this, but it's just fun. I'm just glad I don't have to write a paragraph here for it. Yes. Yes. Again, you must vote for 5 topics. Even if you don't like 5, you still need to vote for 5. And you're just. And the delegate from New York, please come to the front table.
Ill.
Oh,
Hey, John.
he just voted on the wrong day.
Oh, so he didn't vote prior.
No, he
He did, but he voted. He voted on the wrong ballot.
Perhaps I sent him the wrong link.
Okay, yeah, send him that link so we can get him.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Colton. Glad we figured that out. Something must be.
I did not expect. I don't expect. So go to that 4th ballot. You go to individual code to response. Let's scroll down, go to individual. And delete that last. I'll leave it on 30. Okay.
Oh. Tweet that.
We have to have that.
Yeah.
Like this is our.
Yeah.
Which. 26. 25. 17. 23.
Thanks.
There's that. I was like, you know.
Talking time will expire in 1 minute. Talking time will expire in 1 minute.
He voted in the first 4 rounds. He just interesting. Yeah. And it's even.
Please go ahead and submit your ballots. Please submit your ballots, ready for 3 ballots to be submitted. I'm still waiting for one more ballot to be submitted.
My flight is at 1 because I start school tomorrow with kids. I want to get back to school. So I'm gonna sneak out about 11 if that's okay.
Yeah, so I will tell you that you only need like an hour and a half.
Okay.
It's real fast.
Okay.
In fact, they have like you can check your bag 45 minutes later, so they can still check it back.
Okay.
So we should be all done and out of here by 12:30 or by noon at the latest. So if you can go till like 11:30. Sure.
Just a little answer. I don't want to say.
Yeah. I just want to because you have that proposal you want to throw out there. I don't want you to miss that.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's gonna get enough support, but, okay.
Well, it's something to talk.
I'll try to
That's
stay
fine.
to 11.
And well, it's.
And I'm sorry for that. I'm getting back at 10 and we live an hour and a half to the airport.
Oh, no,
Yeah, it's on me for the first day of school, so.
No, I totally understand. I
I'll
just
try
want to
to
make
like
sure. It is fast though.
Okay.
We're still waiting for one ballot to be submitted. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so. If you think you've submitted your ballot, please double check.
Right.
DC, right?
DC, Maryland.
Still waiting one ballot. Yep, Texas is in. Yes, MDCA is in. Yep. Henry, please double check you've submitted your ballot. We're still waiting one ballot. But Lauren? You're fine. All right, we gotta go through the list. Here's the. All right.
Yep. They're long.
Oh, yep, done. Yep. Yep. Check. Call, yes. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Maryland.
Yes.
Yep.
Minnesota.
There's Mississippi. Yeah, but you still not here. I need a delegate from South Dakota to please submit his ballot. Delegate from South Dakota, please submit your ballot.
Oh, man.
Yes. That also means that South Dakota is hosting at their full expense this meeting and next year.
Are we going to South Dakota?
There we go.
Urgent.
We're actually not, we're actually.
All right, now we got we have all of them in. The final 5 topics for the 2024-25 topic. We will be, the final elimination will be eliminating election and democracy reform. So our final 5 topics are agricultural subsidies, American Arts policy, critical infrastructure, intellectual property rights, and nuclear weapon reduction. Congratulations to these 5 authors. Big congratulations to those authors that did not make the top 5 ballot, put in lots of work. If you are one of these top, or if you're one of these 5 authors, please come see myself and Kevin Midge in the front. Everyone else, we're going to take a 10-minute break and then start the business meeting in 10 minutes. So be back here at 11:02. That's only 8 minutes, but be back here at 11:02. All right, all right. So come on over here.
We take some of the fun.
Congratulations. Selected for the top ballot. We're gonna do a quick photo in front of the thing, and then Kevin has a folder for everyone. You send your paragraphs in before you leave today. Need your paragraphs written and submitted for the description.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be submitting you a link to a Google Drive folder on the email we've got for you. And submit a document there and we're gonna get you one.
Is there like an example?
From last year. Are you gonna have the committee, what committee do it present here or go back? Okay, got it.
Oh, yeah, picture, sorry. Out here, here, so Ken will tell you where he wants you. Oh, perfect. Okay. Let me know. Yeah. Especially that. Thank you so much for
Yeah. I will. Yeah.
Like 2 paragraphs, like.
And most, and a lot of it is an introduction, you know.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to email this to you guys?
We could definitely talk about that, yeah.
Congrats, guys. It was good seeing you.
Great job, everybody. Yeah.
Good job to you.
I told my mom last night, I was like, your buddy Kyle said I should have gotten you shoes. She's like, I'm with him.
Yes,
Like, yeah.
I know.
Sorry, Mom.
I'm on her
I love you.
side.
Really good. I love it.
I know.
And I will be back.
Are you coming in September?
I don't think I can this year. Yeah, I know. I don't get it.
Well, if you can, hopefully.
I'm still working on it, but we have like a budget thing.
Yeah, I get it, I get it.
Nice, nice.
I know. I'm here now, yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine. I know that when
Voting is good, that goes so much better now. Rather than the roll call.
One minute.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah.
Dinner. Definitely. 5 over.
Is that why he's not here? Oh, on the 14th? Yeah. That's when he started.
Yeah.
He started. Not every.
Yeah. I turned, today was my 40th birthday. Yeah, I still the same travel when I was 30.
Yeah, I think first.
Okay, hold on.
It's only.
Oh, I know, I just. Oh, no problem, I totally fell asleep. And I didn't get it till I just, when I texted you and I knew I couldn't get it. Too late anyway, and it's like, I sat down and just. I'm gonna, watch a bit of CNN and.
Okay, we will go ahead and get started here in about 1 minute business meeting. So your friends are not in the room, please text them and come back to the room.
That's not bad. Not at all. No, not at all. Not view it as entertainment. If I don't lose big time, then I only take what I can afford to lose. And like a good night dinner.
Jennifer, what do you want to?
Oh, you have
Okay, ready? It's time to begin our NFHS policy debate topic section business meeting. This is the time for the community to tell us what we need to know moving forward to a lot of things. Before we do that, I do have some thank yous to give. So first off, I want to thank our new wording committee members. So Deb Sir, Lauren Ivy, and Brett Bricker. Thank you very much. You mean, no, she's not a new member. So we know it's been daunting by having a new role on this committee, so thank you for that. Our outgoing members, which is Eric Odo and Clean Mooney, we do have gifts for you guys. So, great. Neither of them are in here, so thank you. All right. Our remaining committee member, Jennifer, thank you very much for all of your work here. And also, Dr. Rich Edwards for stepping in as the wording committee chair. 2 days of notice, so that was good. All right, I also want to thank all of our report authors for all of their hard work throughout the last year. This meeting would not run smoothly without Dr. Kevin Minch, so please thank Kevin for all his good work. I made this PowerPoint slide before I knew Ken was coming with us, so Ken, I apologize if you also didn't catch it through the PowerPoint. But I want to thank Kyle and Ken for all of their hard work. I know you guys are going to hear and see me do these things. Technically, they're in charge of all the decisions, but this meeting does not get done without Kyle and Ken. I also want to thank all of our attendees. We had 70 delegates from 25 states and 4 national organizations. I'm hoping it's the smallest one we have moving forward. So by all means, bring friends with you and make sure that we have a good meeting. If we had 100 people here, that'd be awesome. All right, national ballot timeline.
One more, thank you. So this is my 49th one of these meetings. And I've seen a lot of them. No disrespect to the predecessors because they've all been fantastic. But National Federation sources that it's poured into this process, the increased quality of this process, all of that, we really have James to thank for.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to serve, and the process is amazing. The activity is great. So we're going to keep doing whatever. Thank you, Rich. All right, national ballot timeline. Here we go. So on August 21st, you're going to get an email from Kyle, and that'll be the ballots that you email to the states and national organizations. Please distribute those to all of your coaches in your states and your national organizations. Get those votes going. On October 23rd, we'll announce the final 2 topics. The ballots are due on October 13th. 10 days later, on the 23rd, we'll send out the final 2 topics. On January 3rd, those ballots are due back to the NFHS office. And on January 10th, the final topic announcement will happen. So this will seem like it's a long ways away, but January 10th is right around the corner. So if you think it's hot today, just give it a minute. It'll be freezing cold. Okay. There you go. All right, upcoming topic areas next year. That is not correct. Flip-flop this. And so next year we'll be talking international topic. So we'll be good there. All right, moving along from that one. So awards. We have an opportunity at NFHS to really award high caliber people. I would like you to take a photo of this slide if you could. These are the deadline dates for some pretty significant awards. I would really highly recommend that we look at this one here, which is the NFHS Speech Debate Theater State Section and Citation Awards. That is due on November 15th to your state association. It is a great way to recognize high quality speech debate officials and coaches. We also have the NFHS Hall of Fame. So if we have a National Citation or Hall of Fame awardee in this room, please stand and be recognized. These are the highest awards we give at the NFHS. All right, so those two are due November 15th. We have the NFHS Art of the Arts Award. This is a story type award. So if people have overcome adversity or have just incredible stories of what they've done, it is different from the other two. The other ones are career-based. I've done amazing things in my career. And the one is I've done amazing things. It's a great award. It's one of those where you read them, you start crying at your desk, and then you close the thing. You're like, I'm not crying, you're crying. All right. And the final one we have is the NFHS Performing Arts School of Excellence Award, which we need nominations at by May 1st. This year, that'll be going to May. Next year, 2024, will be in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa. Beautiful. Thank you. Those who are like, I don't want to go to Des Moines, I will tell you Des Moines is a beautiful city in the summertime. And that's when we're going to be there. It's going to be great. We've got great hosts with the NSDA and the Iowa High School Speech Association. They are both very excited to co-host us, and I think we'll have a great time. So please plan on going to Des Moines, Iowa next year. The next year we'll be on a west rotation again, and so we'll be back over this part of the country. If you are west of the Mississippi River and you'd like to host this meeting, please let us know. If you're bordering the Mississippi River and you're like, I don't know if I'm east or west, let us know that. We'll let you know which bid comes in best. All right, so here's how we break down the country. It's pretty easy. Odd number of years are going to be west, even number of years are going to be east. We are going to start accepting bids into the 2028 year as well. So what I'd like to do is have the sites for 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027 all set. So if you are on one of these rotations in one of those years you'd like to host, please let us know. Pre-pandemic, we knew where we were going 3 years out, and I'd like to get back to that. The pandemic has made things a little bit, but we're past that, and so let's make sure we do this. All right, 2025 process. Sorry, I thought I missed a joke. Okay.
Like that.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right, so we need volunteers to start doing topics. Kevin has a list of all of the things for the 2025 year, which will have the meeting in 2024. We know it's funky, but remember, this is a long process. So if you have not submitted anything, I believe the time to submit is closed. We have lots of things, but you can always come talk to Kevin. We'll add it on. Okay, so I'm going to turn the cable over to Kevin. This is my good reminder in highlighted text to go through what we have.
So, yeah.
Kyle and Adrian.
So just so you know, we did get some submissions that were domestic, so I removed those. Next year's international year. The other thing is, even if you see a potential author here, it just means somebody said, yeah, I might be willing to do this. So it does not exclude people from picking a topic that doesn't have an author and adding themselves later or collaborating with the existing author. There are also a couple here that are like, not sure if this is international or not, could be, depending on how you spin it. So, choose to vote however you wish. You can vote as many times as you want. Everybody in the room, regardless of whether they're a delegate, can vote. So you can vote for all. And then we'll sort them. It also does not constrain us. The people who actually write for next year, it is entirely advisory. So we could get a paper that isn't even on this list or is further down the poll than say the top 16 or whatever, but it really does help us prioritize what we need to do. So I'll read them out. And
it also helps us when we start looking for new authors. Like, I want to write, but I don't have to write about. We can go to this list and say, well, here's some things that the community should hear about.
Right. So I read them off, and then our trustee leaders will count your votes.
Okay, so Kyle, you're going to count from Colton this way, and I'll count from Josie this way. All right.
Africa.
Raise your hand if you want to hear about Africa. Okay.
go 40.
Okay, 41. Just count we have to have the number, so.
African economy.
Okay, African economy, raise your hand high so we can see it. 22.
Arctic Ocean exploration.
Okay, 19.
Baltics.
Twenty-two.
Former Soviet Central Asian states.
31.
China, Taiwan.
Okay. China, Taiwan. 27.
This one actually I should have removed is not probably an international. Copyright.
Oh, we could.
Right.
Want to call it international?
Sure. International copyrights. We talked about how Russia will not release Tchaikovsky in the public domain of the United States. Okay, great. All right. Everyone wants to talk about copyright, so 45. 3. 10.
Right. Criminalize immigration.
Yeah. 24.
Diplomatic normalization / nation state recognition.
42.
Economic engagement in Africa.
As opposed to African.
Oh, yeah, that's already, yeah.
So 22.
Expand UN sustainable goals or something about net.
All right, something about edit with UN goals. 17.
Foreign health assistance.
30.
Free trade agreements.
31.
Global food security.
19. Oh, that's hard. 38. I guess it wasn't that hard.
Global health. Yeah, it might be the same, might not.
14. 24.
Human rights promotion.
17. 34.
Human trafficking prevention.
You hear it in the airports all the time. 28.
India.
15. 31.
Intellectual property rights. It's strange, that's kind of the same as the copyright.
4.
International criminal justice cooperation.
17. 34.
What was that? 34?
34.
International humanitarian law.
16. 27.
International trade.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. I'm good with that.
25, okay.
International treaties.
Is it the same as treaties?
Yeah, that's probably the same.
Okay.
Japanese nuclear policy, Article 9 revision.
Gotta love some Article 9 revisions. 13.
Maritime law for technology.
What? 24.
Middle East diplomacy.
$16. 34.
Migrants. Climate migrants. Specifically.
26.
Military presence.
It should be happening. 27.
Reduce counterterrorism policy.
Well, 22.
Reduce military engagement with and or economic investment in Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan.
$16. 30.
Reduce presence in Middle East. $29. Reduce presence in peacekeeping operations, either within certain groups like America or areas like the Central African Republic. Reform humanitarian aid.
Okay, 13.
Refugee resettlement. $16.
28.
Security cooperation with Oceania.
11.
South America policy.
33.
South Asia policy.
31.
Space exploration and colonization.
Mars versus Venus. 15.
Terrorism.
In general.
That's how
Or against.
Oh, that's a 0 on that one. And then we've already had treaties and
we didn't vote on it. We didn't vote on it.
By the way,
The other treaty. So what are we doing, terrorists?
nobody raised their hand.
Trees.
Treaties. 22.
U.S. climate and environmental diplomacy. $16.
29.
UN human rights policy.
10.
26.
And West Asia, North Africa military presence.
36.
Sports.
That's good.
And we'll have this posted on the website, right? Yeah, so it's posted online and we'll email it out to everybody as well. These are your kind of top ones from this drop photo. Okay, thank you, everybody.
And again, if anyone wants to volunteer for something that hasn't talked to me, come and chat.
Okay, we're gonna go a smidgen out of order because we have someone who needs to catch an airplane. It's okay. 1 second. So we're gonna, Lauren has a proposal she wants to throw to the community. We can talk about it. I'm not sure you can stay for the entire conversation, but here you go. And then we'll talk about this more in the journals.
Okay, I'm really sorry with this, but tomorrow's the first day of school, so I gotta get back, like midnight, so flight lands at 9:30, we live an hour and a half from the airport, so. Okay, so I have been thinking a lot and talking to some people about the voting process that is done. I think it is, sort of egregiously unfair that if you are a state with one debate coach, you get the same votes as say like Texas, which probably has several hundred debate coaches. I know that the NFHS is kind of committed to a state-based model. States are supposed to survey their coaches. I think that is all good, but I don't think that solves the inequality of each state basically being having the same number of votes, irrelevant of the number of coaches in their area, right? You would never order a pizza and put people in groups and say one person has the same vote as 500. So what I am sort of working on and would like to propose that will be discussed at the September NFHS business meeting is a proposal that would keep the voting the same at the topic meeting, but then once we have the 5 topics, maybe just send it out for a strict popular vote where everybody gets access to the form and gets to vote. The only real DA that I kind of anticipate to this is that I think it is possible that some people just go get random people to vote. I think that is a valid concern. I'm open to the fact that that may be worse than the status quo. However, I think my gut says that it is far worse in the situation now where there's, not to pick on him, one coach from Connecticut and there are several hundred from Texas and they have the same votes in the process. So if anyone wants to work with me on that proposal, when do I need to get it in by?
So it needs to be due by September 8th.
Okay, so if you want to work with me on that proposal, my email is Lauren Ivey, LAURENIVEY 318@gmail.com. I do have to leave to get to the airport, but I look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. Not to exclude Lauren from the conversation, but I just have a couple items to fill out. We're gonna finish and then we'll go to open forum discussion. And Lauren, I promise that we will talk about this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I just want to make sure it doesn't look like I'm trying to hide.
Yeah.
All right, so as Lauren also mentioned, upcoming meetings ahead will be the NFHS Speech Debate Theater and Academic Committee, which meets September 16th to the 17th. We are looking for agenda topics. This is one that we already have as an agenda topic. So we'll wait for the proposal. The official proposal will come in for that one. Any agenda topics that do come from this group do go to that committee. Jana Riggins from Texas UIL is the chair. And she is our fearless community leader as far as what happens in that committee. So as Jana can attest, everything that I get, I send on to her and it does go to the committee for discussion. We also have the NFHS Performing Arts Conference. I invite all of you to go, especially if you're in a large district and administrative role or a state association role. It is an area that is really just professional development for those kinds of folks. Really recommend the conference. It's also free to attend. It's in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, those of you who've gone, please convince others to go. It's just a great meeting. All right, we also have a speech and debate credential at the NFHS now. This is a special credential. It's level 1, tier level 1 credential, and it flows directly into the NSDA level 1. So if you become a NFHS level 1 you are automatically a NSDA level 1, and then it starts you off within one course. It's pretty close. Come on, Lauren, give it to me here. And then they will have it goes right into tier. I do that. However, I wrote all the courses. Okay, there we go. It is, I mean, I will say though, the reason I don't have it is because our education guy won't just give it to me, even though we write the courses. I was like, I've written the content. Is that not good enough? He's like, nope, go and take it. Anyway, so the NFHS is Cognia accredited. So this is a thing that also accredits 30,000 K-12 schools as well. And so these do work for professional development and continuing education units for every course you take. I thought I had a video, but I deleted it by accident. So, but I will say that this credential is good. It's about 7 courses. Every course you can take for to get the credential is a free course. So highly recommend doing that within your state or within your schools and your coaching staff. All right, now we are open to the open forum discussion. So we will allow this to be open to the floor. We did have Lauren's proposal out there if anyone would like to discuss that. If you do want to discuss it, now is the perfect time. If you would like to discuss it after you've accumulated some thoughts, you can email myself, Lauren, and Jana. Note that whatever you send me, I will be forwarding on to Jana as the chair. So if you want to like riddle it with expletives, just know it will be forwarded on to Jana as well. Okay. All right. So does anybody? I'm just saying, like, people get loose. All right. So does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up for the good of the order in the open forum discussion, either with Lauren's proposal or in general for the operation of the meeting? Yes.
I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the roundtables that we were able to do, to have a chance to really sit down and talk to each author and just kind of get a feel of it before we went into the Marshall Studies committees. So that was just a good kudos. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that'll stay for a long time.
Building from that, I think that the debatability roundtables could potentially take on a slower paced and more deliberate approach, like thinking more jam session and less thesis defense. Let things breathe and percolate a little bit in committee format as opposed to having to defend.
Yeah, I follow up on both those things. I think we might even benefit from having another discussion about debatability once we have the wording nailed down. Because for me, the topics really changed throughout the wording process. And I felt like some were more debatable, prior, to us having the wordings, and then, afterward it's like, I don't know if this topic is as debatable. I think we could benefit from having a little more discussion about debatability once we have the wording, or once we have the wording.
Yes.
I was kind of pausing to give everybody back reflections about this.
So I found the first round of tables yesterday to be very, very helpful. And I kind of tried to walk around the ones that were supposed to be scheduled this morning, and it wasn't totally clear to me that they were still happening this morning. So to follow up on David's comment, I would like the second debatability discussion after resolutions to occur in a larger group form. I felt like some of the comments that were from like Maggie yesterday were kind of not about wording and more about debatability, and I felt like maybe some other people were chilled from introducing those comments because they weren't just related to the wording in hand. So having wording and then having a second to talk about debatability, I think would help. The second unrelated discussion is I want to tentatively propose, I don't have like a formal proposal written, that the topic paper process changes slightly. So I agree with the idea that every paper should focus on relevance, timeliness, student interest, et cetera. And I appreciate that every paper explicitly addresses those concerns, but those seem mostly like formalities to me at the moment. No paper seems to be disqualified on those fronts. And
So it's helpful that a paper does those things, but those feel like minimum requirements. The two additional requirements that I think ought to be added to papers are every paper needs to have a disadvantaged link that applies, like a generic link card that applies across the suite of primitives that would be topical under a particular resolution. And every word that is in every proposed resolution needs to be defined, which I think is currently a requirement, but that's not something that is currently being met. So I would appreciate as we move forward that those two things are kind of minimum requirements for papers to even make it onto the slate of topics for this. Thank you.
I don't need the microphone. I think I'm loud enough. Just following up on that, what would also your thoughts be on there being a minimum number of proposed resolutions? So like instead of getting a paper where it's just like, this is my one wording, you need at least 3.
I think that is a requirement. Is it 6 or 7? Yeah, it's just not being met at the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't think I need the microphone. I would follow up on that also, that definitions should be from multiple sources. Because we know that all of our students use definitions from a variety of sources, and they can be quite different. So definitions from multiple sources and cited.
So as somebody who works with James and his team on vetting the papers, getting them out to reviewers, I've asked the people who made these suggestions, and anybody else who's common sense, what do you want us to do in terms of the paper that is not making, because we suggest all these changes that you're talking about. And we have some people who ignore those suggestions. And or ignore the deadlines. Has been a problem since the 90s when I started. So, are you looking for us to be draconian and just say, okay, you put in all this work for the last 6 months and you don't get to present your paper at the conference?
So, yeah, that is what I'm proposing. And hopefully, hopefully this proposal allows you to blame me instead of you two. I find it, the process, so the process of accepting every paper, I think is A, a little bit more unfair, and B, introduces some serious landmines or what I call low floor topics. So I understand that someone who goes through all this work doesn't want to have their paper rejected before they get here. I totally understand that. But when we have a paper that is talked about here, where we, it doesn't have the requisite materials, we're really flying by the seat of our pants. And I feel like, if we're landing on words, I think even the resolutions that we decided upon here included several phrases that we had no definition of. We were searching previous papers and doing quick Google searches and Lexis searches to try to figure it out. And I think I would prefer to not have a paper here, even though that person's feelings are going to get hurt in that moment.
I don't want to jump ahead of people, but I want to just clarify something. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. In fact, James will tell you that there have been times where I've been
I don't know if I go that.
well, but the point is, if we go that route, the risk that we run, just so you know, is that we could see a significant reduction in the actual number of papers that are running. And so it's great that we've had 16 this year. That is a record number as far as I know. But there have also been years where we've had like 8 or 7. And so if y'all want to get to the final vote really fast, if we enforce this, and if that were passed along to the speech committee and they voted on it, just know that is the kind of potential consequence, because we do have a lot of authors who, bless you all, I mean, you're all wonderful people. This is not a personal criticism, but like any student papers you grade, sometimes you can give as much advice as you want and it doesn't stick. We have a lot of deadlines that are ignored. And so this year we put a fairly elaborate process in place to help authors stage starting all the way back in November. And I would say the majority of folks didn't meet most of the deadlines. So just be prepared for what that consequence would be.
microphone. Is that okay? Okay, I was gonna say, whenever we're looking at making more robust papers, a mentorship program would probably be fantastic. I mean, we did have the Zoom calls that we got on where we kind of talked about it, but I remember logging on and kind of being, oh, I'll go first, I guess, because we sat.
Let's because somebody showed up.
That's awesome. But that's what I'm saying, this is what we do with our high school debate program, so we have more senior members, help the freshmen, help them out it. If you just like assign somebody, like you assign someone who's had 8 top 5 papers to someone who's writing their first or second or third, I think it'd be a little bit less intimidating because they can do emails back and forth and do feedback. And you could also allow for them to have the opportunity to see what a paper should and shouldn't look like. I know we had the example papers that were went out, we went by like Ruth's UN paper, like outlined it almost identically to our paper because it was really helpful. So I think as a young person, I am a very big proponent of mentorship programs. And I think that can solve some of our problems because instead of just getting like a review back and like make these changes, you can ignore it. You kind of have someone with a connection that's telling you, hey, let's make these changes and I'll help you along the way.
Sarah.
I need this, but sure. I agree with everything that Richard said, and I honestly think that having fewer papers would allow for a more robust debatability conversation, which is the thing that I feel like this. And I was so grateful for the roundtable for sharing that. That was a huge addition and improvement. And I also think that conversation needs to be like 75% longer. We spend way more time talking about substantially versus significantly than we do about the topic to stats or whether or not the resolutions proposed can meet the state's counter plan. And I think those conversations need to be like half a day. And if those conversations need to be half a day, then you need to have fewer papers in order to have this conversation.
But you know, from this point of someone who is now involved in this process a few times, the NFHS is really trying to do a better job with stuff like mentoring, like the meetings that we had this year were really helpful. But I also know from the standpoint of someone who coaches a large program and has a lot of other sort of like things that I do outside of school, it was really difficult for me to get to those meetings. So establishing something like a smaller mentorship program might be helpful to do common authors where you do just set them up with someone that has experience. And, you know, even if it is a little bit less formal than the large group meetings, would allow for those discussions to occur in a format that is a bit more flexible than the just like set meetings. And I know that people will set those dates way ahead of time in order to try and help accommodate, but I can just say it was sort of like difficult, at least for me, you know.
Well, we do take a lot of, like, we do a lot of reflection time after this, so I do appreciate the comments. And well, I'm not going to ignore you. We do appreciate the comments and we do take everything to heart. That's why we added stuff to the meeting. We've changed the whole system. Kevin and I have shared our frustrations with people, with 3 people showing up to a meeting where 15 people are supposed to be there. So we do take all that to heart. We do need, like I've said last few years, we need the community to also respond in kind and say, if we're going to offer these things, they need to take advantage of these things. And so I think we'll continue to reflect and improve and refine the process. And I do think the process overall has gotten better. So as we continue to do those, we hope that that continues. All right, here.
Have we, instead of raising the barrier to get into the whole thing, if we thought about raising the barrier in the middle, right? That 25% vote, it's like it's basically a formality. So we thought about having a fixed number, like you only bring a dozen through after the first day or something like that, and then that would end the toxicity.
Not talked about that. I need someone to talk about Jeremy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I was gonna say that mentorship probably already of this in great form, from the meetings that, you know, the Zoom meeting and also for the people who are here. A lot of people who look papers, we have a lot of experience, we're all really friendly, you have their name, so like, there are people who have been doing this for years, and we talked about this last year. They're always very accessible. And I would say that part of the onus is on, if you're writing papers, reach out to get some of that help from people.
Any more thoughts on this topic?
Just one kind of response to that. I think, as I sit here as one who's participating in my first meeting, I think I think that may be very well through those who can engage the process for, I think for you, the writers, I think that might be fair. But that way be more intentional about the next particular I think from the perspective, I think there's a big difference between suggested edits or changes to a paper and practices for that paper. I think persons are ignoring references even when pointed out to them. I think to some degree they might be self-selecting out. And I do know, again, we run the risk of producing a number of those submissions. But hearing what I'm saying, it sounds like there's a desire for more quality of discussion on the submission for us, more so than volume of papers. So again, I think the references are there for a reason. I think they help facilitate discussion and first one disregard those.
Okay, and speaking of somebody that got, when we first wrote our paper, one of our first papers 15 years ago, and it was not good, and we didn't know the process, anything like that. And if there's a system where you get bounced before you can ever go through any of the rest of the process, you never learn, and then you don't want to come back. So I agree that, yeah, there's a lot of papers, but there's value in sitting in front of the body and being able to answer wording questions, even if people are not going to vote on those topics. And if you get bounced before you ever get to that point, you never learn that point. You never actually experience that part of the process. So I understand y'all's position, but I think in fairness, you got to let people have that learning experience.
It's a balancing act. Super fun. That's why I get paid the big money.
These microphones, my voice over the years has gotten very quiet. I think that doing this proposal does two things. Being a first-time author, I know included me. The first thing is I think it chills the desire to want to go through the process. And and secondly, I think what happens is you start to develop a checklist and your papers all become very formulaic. And I mean, if that's what you want, so that you can just kind of check off, yes, then great. But I think that also limits the creativity and some of the thought processes that authors go through. And I don't think you want to eliminate that. So it's kind of a balancing act, you know. Yes, they need to meet these certain criteria, but how do we do that while still allowing them creative thought and you know, research abilities and those sorts of things. I don't know how you fix that. I know the meetings online, and I missed the last one because I was dumb, were very helpful. The feedback I got from the papers that were submitted out to the reviewers was very helpful. I think you're right in that people self-select out. If they ignore, and you do that in your classroom, if you ignore the teachers or the mentor suggestions, you're basically saying, I'm right, you're wrong, I self-select out, basically. So I think that's something to consider.
I don't want to stymie conversation, but we are having people dive off flights. So Sean, do you want to talk about the proposal for Laura?
One thing that I think those things probably echoed by virtually every activity that is sponsored from coaches, sponsors, and class. Maybe your concerns be about that from state association office. Federation is a membership organization, it is a representative organization. About state versus other. And you can make that argument. What lies that ability, false federation. Activities is the fact that each state has those. And then it becomes incumbent upon that state to honor feedback from those that represent. I'm very excited about that shit. And I suspect that we're record. Than how all other NFHS. I know my state. In my state, there are a number of babies that could potentially skew voting of our actual members. In that kind of scenario, and I hope a lot of you expect the voting process. That would be done by links somehow, those links can share and all the certification from state. Difficult to actually hold membership. Those certain to one to hold everything else. The federation does also makes it very difficult on the state association standpoint for feedback.
Speaking for a state that has outsized representation from one person here, I think that's something that might be conducive to the process of making representation at the meeting more fair. It just starts with data and some form of a high school debate census using collaborative data through NSDA, through NFHS, through NECA, and urban debate leagues, I think could give a better picture of the state of not only where the coaches are, but also where the debaters are. And that could help in the process of creating guidelines that allow for representation to be equitable, and also to allow for states and regions that might have lost a lot of policy debate involvement due to the pandemic or due to other reasons, allow them to start reestablishing more robust debate ecosystems in those states.
So Kevin and stuff.
I want to go back to the analogy that Laura used earlier about pizza. And analogies are always perfect, but we'll run with this one. If that one person in the room has an allergy to seafood, hopefully the majority of the friends in the room ordering the pizza would not order anchovies. There are reasons sometimes why a smaller state's vote is going to matter on a topic that may be particularly egregious to debate in their state. Not saying it's a good thing, but we know that the politics of some states are very different. The politics of Texas, a large state with potentially a lot of votes, are going to be very different than the politics of California, also with lots of votes. And there are some states where if we ever want policy debate to get back up on its feet, we have to be able to acknowledge that topics that could be deathly to them can't be debated there if they want to get debate back up on its feet, which creates a vicious cycle that means that those states will never be able to grow. And I realize that's somewhat anti-populist, and I recognize that in most of these kinds of political issues, I would say, yeah, we really need to be debating that thing. But we all know that those issues are there and they can be for some states.
Yeah, Stephanie and Rich.
Yeah, I think the only comment that I was gonna make is I worry that in some, like, I'm just thinking of Wisconsin, for example, and coach engagement in this process and getting feedback from them. I worry if the perception is big states have tons of votes, then the jump will be, well, my vote doesn't matter. Because the big states are gonna outvote me anyways, because we have a different perception of what topics should be for Wisconsin. So why bother? Why bother reading the topic papers? Why bother engaging? Would be my concern, just thinking about Wisconsin.
Yeah, my reaction, and I'm speaking from Texas where we have a ton of policy debate, large numbers. I'm thinking about Kansas where the numbers are also very large. One of the things that balances the concerns that have been expressed by Lauren and others is the fact that when you have a lot of policy debate in the state and therefore a lot of interest in representation at this meeting, you do have an opportunity to mold the options that are out there. Kansas has done a pretty remarkable job of that in recent years, just by the quality of the people who come here and the number of topics that, and I could say the same thing about Texas. So I would just say this from James's standpoint, and I don't want to speak for him, but he has convinced the Federation to devote a tremendous amount of resources to this project. Anything that we would do that would endanger, would undercut that political support within the organization, I think we need to take very, very seriously. And the other thing is, it's a wonderful thing that we have states without a whole lot of policy representation still send delegates to this meeting. And we get to hear about what's going on around the country. And, do we really want for this meeting to devolve because of what was said? Why should I come to this meeting when I don't really have, my state doesn't really have hardly any influence in the vote anyway? We could easily have a situation where this meeting is Texas and Kansas and maybe Oklahoma, maybe Georgia, and states that only have 3 or 4 nationally traveling policy teams. If we ever have a hope that policy debate is going to come back, this would be the thing that would kind of shut the door on that possibility. We just said, well, let's just pay attention to the states where there's a tremendous amount of debate, of policy debate. So I think, I think we just need to tread pretty carefully when we're thinking about support of an organization, the size and resources of the National Federation of High Schools, and what it would do to undercut the kind of support for the resources that they've thrown into this project.
Yeah, I definitely hear the concerns about NFHS support. I'm kind of wondering if there's some sort of middle ground. I need to work out some of the data, as David alluded to. I'm wondering if there's a middle ground where it's still the state ballots that get through, but there's some sort of weighting that happens based on how many schools participated in that balloting process per state. You need to think about what exactly that looks like. I think to your point, Rich, it's absolutely true that there are some states where there are a lot of schools participating. On the other hand, it's like California, ostensibly a big state, not that many people are submitting ballots, for the state process itself. That might be the thing that incentivizes people to actually participate in their state process. If they realize that more schools speaking up within their state means that their state vote matters more. I don't know. This is just a thought on what's the middle ground between these things. Because I hear the popular vote thing, totally hear the fact that NFHS support, state support matters. Wondering if there's somewhere in the middle.
Yes, and then we'll go here, and then we have to look at limiting conversation just because I don't want to be ending with 3 people before planes go.
This is going to be really quick. I'm the state coordinator for MHSA, Mississippi High Schools Activities Association. We are admittedly a very small policy state. I can tell you now the fact that my students, when I was talking to them, and I also spoke to some from his school as well, the very few policy debaters were so excited that we had an equal voice to Texas, that we have an equal voice to Kansas, because a lot of times in Mississippi, because we are a smaller league, both in the NSBA and the NCFL, we've had lot of success for being as small as we are on the interpretive side of things. But when it comes to debate, we sometimes feel like we're left out of the conversation, which is not fair for a state that is diverse as our state is, and a state that where we have to fight and beg for money to go to things. And so one of the big things I'd like to say is, I understand the concerns, I really do. Like, I mean, it's hard, but it's hard to get schools to support policy in Mississippi in the first place because of some of the subject matter and because of the funding that we have there. And so one of the big things is that if we feel like we're losing our voices, if the kids feel like they're losing their voices, because I know if the coaches feel like they're losing their voices, they're less likely to participate in the process. And that means that a state that is underrepresented in a lot of ways and is kind of, a lot of people in the United States like to make fun of Mississippi. But one of the things is that we will again be left out of the conversation.
I'm just gonna add really quickly, this is actually a proposal to go back to a model that the NSBA seems to have pretty much rejected. If you remember, it wasn't a whole long time ago that there was voting by degrees for things like district committee and other things. And about 10, 12, somewhere in that time, the NSDA abandoned that model. So I'm not really sure that it would create a discontinuity between the NFHS and the NSDA in terms of how we view that.
Okay, our final comments this.
We're going to talk about the NSPA. So one very quick thing I want to add, and I literally don't know how this works, is that they still do topic voting for their topics, and they always, as they publish the data, have some sort of a split between coaches and the students.
Yep.
I don't know if those are rated differently.
They are.
But if they are rated differently, then that might be something to sort of like look to toward definitely suggestion that you try and find some sort of middle ground about how to make those things. Because the NSCA has moved away from strength mattering, but still also recognizes that perhaps not all votes should always be exactly the same in something as, disparately representational as the.
Great. All right, I think this gives a lot of Jenna. We have some conversation to have at the committee meeting in September. All right, is there anyone else that has any other topic of discussion that to bring forward today before we move on to our last bit of business? Okay. All right. So, sorry.
Yeah, yes, question. Policy debate now is every other year to investigate and international.
Yes.
Okay.
So next year's meeting will be the international meeting. There's no mixed year anymore.
Is there, at some point, I will probably just write these paragraphs. Point out some questions.
Okay. Yeah, again, send it over to me and I'll make sure it gets to Janet for the agenda. All right, anyone else have anything for the good of the order here? Okay, the business meeting is always a weird way to end it, I think, because we ended in a lot of silence, but I think it was a great meeting for the last couple of days. Safe travels and always be in touch. Thank you, everybody. Safe travels and we'll see you in Des Moines. Five ballot boxes. Please get your paragraphs to Kevin before you leave. Top five ballot monitors, please get your paragraphs to Kevin.
I ask you a dumb question, but I didn't. Not my own. Or the name I should. Yeah, I saw that. Rush to go. You too? You run today or? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. No, I need tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you. All day. I don't see me. I.
Nice work again. As always.
Thank you for your.
Thanks. I did. I have to. I'm about to go now. I'm very confident.
That's right. Don't punch his brakes.